Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Thursday, August the 21st, 2025. And on the show tonight, some horrible news for Universal Ostrich Farm in British Columbia. They lost. This is exactly how it was put to me a few hours ago by several people via text, email, Facebook message. They had a case in front of the Appeals Court of Canada against Canadian Food Inspection Agency, as you're well aware. And the 3-judge panel has decided unanimously to rule against Universal Ostrich Farm, meaning that, and by the way, there is no emergency stay order in place any longer. The CFIA can now roll in at any time, day or night, they stipulate that, and begin proceedings to start culling these 400 ostriches. I don't know how they plan to do that. Still, you can bet that CFIA has been planning how they're going to do this for the last couple of months, probably assured that they were going to win this. So this could happen tonight. This could happen tomorrow. This may not happen for a week. It may not happen at all. CFIA has won the right to cull these ostriches, but that doesn't necessarily mean they now have to cull these ostriches. Maybe, and this might sound like a bit of a pipe dream or naive to you, but maybe there's somebody in there who wants to listen to reason. I mean, I doubt it as well, but you never know. So what's next, you might be asking? Oh, and by the way, we were going to have Katie on tonight. She's made a couple of appearances on media today. I think she was on a 30-second hit on the CBC, maybe with some of the others, Global, I think. And she was going to be on with Alex Jones tonight, I believe. So, and we did speak on the phone, Katie and I, this afternoon. And she was very emotional. She was extremely emotional. And I thought, wow, because the kind of show that we do here, she didn't want to break down in front of anybody. She has maintained, her and her mom, Karen, they've maintained a strong dignity through everything that's happened in the last, 7 or 8 months now. And remember that these judges, these appeals court judges, were not able to hear any new evidence. They had to go strictly on what earlier rulings judges heard, and that is that 2 ostriches back in December tested positive for this new strain of H5N1, and they were not allowed to take into consideration that these ostriches have been living, thriving for the last 7 months, over 200 days without any sickness. That was not allowed to come into the court case. And if there is a further appeal, it would be to the Supreme Court of Canada. And guess what? The Supreme Court of Canada would not be able to hear any of the new evidence that has been compiled by Universal Ostrich Farm's legal team. So they wouldn't be able to hear experts testify, like Dr. Stephen Pellick. They wouldn't be able to hear the fact that these ostriches have been living disease-free for over 200 days now. Their lawyer doesn't believe that the Supreme Court will even hear the case. So again, that leaves us now at the mercy of Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Well, not us, Universal Ostrich Farm and their 400 ostriches. So some people are saying, well, why don't you get rid of the ostriches? Like, take the ostriches and move them south of the border. We know that RFK Jr. and a couple of other big wigs down there, like Dr. Oz, they were trying to save the ostriches as well. And I think Dr. Oz even offered up his ranch in Florida as a place to keep them. Well, these ostriches are under the jurisdiction of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency right now. They're under quarantine still on the farm, which means if they're moved in any way, anywhere, that the family would be charged with a crime. Probably. So what's left? Well, Katie wrote a letter to Mark Carney, personal letter to Mark Carney. And well, she, and I don't think anybody else believes that Mark Carney will ever receive this letter. She is going to publish it on her social media. And this is in hopes that so many people share it that he can't not see it. And again, we understand what and who Mark Carney is. And if you know the agenda, you know that this is part of it. And this now will continue amongst other farmers in other areas of this country. You know that's going to happen. These culls are only going to increase because, guess what? Food supply, land use. It's all wrapped up in the case of the Universal Ostrich Farm. But here is the letter that Katie wrote today. Dear Mr. Carney, I write to you today not only as a farmer, but as a human being carrying the responsibility of nearly 400 lives. The ostriches of Universal Ostrich Farm. These animals are not numbers or statistics. They have heartbeats, they have names, and they have remained healthy for 219 days without a single test permitted by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And us being threatened 6 months in jail and a $20,000 fine if we test our own animals to prove their health. Yet, at any moment, they face destruction under a rigid and outdated policy that allows no compassion, no science, and no justice. We respectfully request your consideration of a royal prerogative of mercy in this matter. While traditionally applied in the context of criminal sanctions, its foundation lies in justice, humanitarianism, and compassion, principles that apply here with profound urgency. Why this qualifies for mercy? Extraordinary circumstances. The CFIA has not stepped foot on the farm in over 5 months, yet insists there is a threat here. The ostriches remain thriving, vibrant, and without any clinical signs of illness. No other remedy exists. The legal avenues available to us have now been exhausted. With the Supreme Court not guaranteed, there is no stay order and no further protection available under standard legal process. Humanitarian and compassionate grounds. These birds are living beings, innocent of wrongdoing, who stand to be killed not out of necessity, but out of bureaucratic adherence to a policy that denies the possibility of natural immunity, science-based testing, or alternative measures. Public interest. Beyond their lives, these ostriches carry extraordinary potential for food security and antibody research that could save human lives. You guys know that story. Their destruction would eliminate knowledge that cannot be replaced. Our request. We ask that you recommend to the Governor General or to the Governor in Council the granting of a royal prerogative of mercy in this exceptional case. Specifically, the Universal Ostrich Farm and its flock to be granted relief from CFIA's culling order, allowing the animals to live, be studied responsibly, and continue contributing to science and agriculture. Real science. You know the kind I'm talking about. Real agriculture. This is not about politics. It's about doing the right thing. It's about compassion where the law has failed to provide remedy. It's about protecting life when destruction serves no purpose but fear. Mr. Carney, history will remember the choices we make in moments like this. We urge you to stand with life, science, and compassion. These ostriches deserve mercy with respect and urgency. Katie Pasitny, Universal Ostrich Farm. Now again, we can't be as naive as to sit back and think that Mark Carney is going to read that if he ever sees it, and he should, hopefully, if it gets shared enough times, on as many platforms as possible. I'm talking about all of them now. We have no reason to believe that Mark Carney will do anything about this at all, or the Governor General or the Governor in Council. So what then? We, like I said earlier, can hope, pray, cross our fingers and toes, whatever, that CFIA will now listen to mercy, or reason, sorry. I doubt that. So what then? You guys know where I'm going with this. There's only one recourse available right now. And that is for as many people as possible to go to Universal Ostrich Farm and stay until the situation is resolved in one way or another, or as long as they possibly can. Once again, I understand it's a lot to ask. People have been asking me already this afternoon, Shadow, you going back to the ostrich farm? To which I have to say, no. I can't go back to the ostrich farm. I've been there twice already. I've covered that story. I'm covering it right now. But surely there are some other people who have yet to take action, like maybe some of these other farmers across the country who Universal Ostrich Farm has been standing up for, not just themselves. We all know that these culls are going to become epidemic because they've been increasing year by year by year since 2003. Remember safetyism? We talked about it the other night. Oh, there's an inkling of a new virus with a bird. We better kill them all. It's a matter of your safety. So this is a message to every single farmer that raises any kind of livestock in Canada. I don't care what the livestock is, cows, horses, chickens, whatever. They are going to come for you at some point under whatever pretext they decide to come for you under. They will take a PCR test. They'll claim that it's positive for this, that, and they'll say, here's the order. We're going to kill your stock. And you're not going to have any recourse at all. Nothing. Because guess what? A precedent's now been set. Are you willing to live with that? Are you willing to wait for that train to come thundering right through your property? Because it will eventually. Part of Agenda 2030, part of the UN agenda is controlling the food and controlling the land. They want you off the land, and they want to control the food supply. And you are in their way. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stand up with Universal Ostrich Farm? Or are you just going to go about business as usual until you can't anymore? Because that's what this is. A lot of people ask me, why did you get so involved in this, man? Because I saw exactly what was going on with this. It wasn't just about the ostriches. At first, when I first read it, I went, ostriches, what? But then, of course, I looked deeper into it and I saw exactly what was going on. And now here we are. And so far, hang on just 1 minute. Should I send Katie a link? Maybe I'll send her a link here. She just texted me. So why are you so involved in this, Shadow? And I said, I saw the link. I saw what was going on. I saw everything that was happening. Everything that we have been talking about. The Wildlands Project, the smart cities. Because what's going to happen to these farmers when they're kicked off their properties and they have nothing to do on their farms anymore? Well, they're going to be moved into the cities. Aren't they? They're going to try and get as many people as they possibly can into the cities. That's where they want you. And then after that, Hang on, let me text her back here. Okay, so she's got a link to the show. Either she'll come on or she won't. But this is what's going on. Is all hope lost? Of course it's not. There's still much we can do. And so, what I was talking about before, as many people need to go to Universal Ostrich Farm as possible. People who have believed but haven't done anything about it yet. People who understand what's going on but have not taken action yet. I'm not talking about going there aggressively. I'm not talking about an Oka standoff here. I'm talking about going to observe what happens. And I'm talking about hundreds and maybe thousands of people, all with their phones, recording everything or transmitting it to the world. Now, can we stop the agenda? Sure, there's many different ways to do it, but the key is creating awareness. That's why this show exists. The Liberals say they're going to bring back some version of Bill C-63, the censorship bill, in the new sitting of Parliament starting next month. We don't know if it's going to look like the last one. We don't know how long it's going to take to pass. They will pass it eventually. If they try and hustle it through, they might be able to do it. I don't know. I don't know where the NDP sits on it. They've only got 7 members, but they're still key in deciding because remember, this is a minority government. We know the Conservatives will vote against it. But once they succeed in shutting up all of the independent media in this country, what's left? The left-wing corporate media. CBC, Global, and CTV. That's it. Globe and Mail, Toronto Star, Winnipeg Free Press, Calgary Herald. Yeah, you've got Post Media. But they also take money from the government. Did you know that? They do. And then you will be out of luck. And if you say anything that they object to, or post anything you object to or they object to, because this is going on in the UK right now, then they will take it down. They'll take you down. They'll take your account away. They may even come and arrest you, like you've seen happening in the UK, Germany, and France. So we're talking about a little bit of an urgency here as we continue to roll towards Agenda 2030. And remember, they did speed it up a few years ago. I personally think it's more like Agenda 2027 or 2028 now, instead of 2030, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. All right, I'm going to take a short 30-second break, get my mind together here, and I'll be right back after this. All right, I'm just looking at your comments here because I didn't get a chance to see any of them as I was talking earlier. Where's all the tree hugging activists now? Kim says, it's interesting that we didn't hear from PETA at all through any of this. Where's PETA? Are they captured? Probably. You would think this would be right up their alley. You would think that PETA would, they're going to kill 400 ostriches? We got to get on that. No sign of them. No sign of any long-established animal rights groups at all. Because they're all captured. What can we do, people? Well, okay. So that always seems to be the question, doesn't it? First thing you can do is go to the Universal Ostrich Farm. I can't afford it. I haven't got the time. Make the time. Make the time. I mean, this is a serious thing that's happening right now. I've given you all the reasons in the first 10, 20 minutes of this show tonight. It's incredibly important. This is a linchpin. If we allow them to get away with this, then they will. And it's just going to get worse. So you've got a choice. You can go there, or you can talk to somebody about it. You can start spreading the word about it. And I'm not talking about walking up to somebody and screaming in their faces. I'm talking about having reasonable conversations with credible evidence and making them understand. Now, there's some people, like I've said in the past, there's some people you're never, ever going to get through to. And I had a conversation via text with one of them earlier. She said she was sorry about what happened at Universal Ostrich Farm. Some people are just assholes, is what she said. I said, I wish that's all it was. She said, stupid rules, laws. Anyway, I'm really sorry about how it turned out. Absolutely sincere message. Completely and totally unwilling to understand why this is happening. And they make it difficult for us to talk about these things, don't they? Because we have to pick apart every little piece of their story. Going all the way back to PCR tests are unreliable. And that's been done by design to make it almost impossible to refute their nonsense. There is a lie in every sentence, in every paragraph of their story. And we have to reveal the lie before we can continue on with the actual refuting of their story. It's amazing how well crafted this has been. And we keep playing the political games. The Conservatives, it looks like they're going after crime in this session of Parliament coming up next month. Here is a video dropped by Conservative MP Larry Brock earlier today.
Stabbed a teenage girl 72 times. And if you're unlucky enough, you might find yourself bumping into him. As a former Crown attorney, I can tell you that this is not how things have always worked in Canada. And yet, this is what's happening now for Sebastian Simon. In 2006, he murdered his 17-year-old gas station co-worker, Bridget Seri, while trying to rob the place. As I said, he stabbed her 72 times. And for that, he was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole for 25 years. So why might you be running into him? Because despite not being eligible for parole until 2031, the parole board just granted him escorted leave for 5 days a week to join a work program that we don't get to know about. This is even despite the fact that the parole board previously recognized him as being a high risk to reoffend violently. This is unacceptable. There are exactly 0 Canadians who want to go to work one day only to find that their co-worker stabbed a 17-year-old girl 72 times. And that's not to mention the grief of the families who have to live knowing that the man who murdered their daughter is getting as much leniency as possible. That's why Conservatives are demanding an end to liberal soft-on-crime policies that led violent criminals back into our neighborhoods. Mark Carney says crime is a priority for him, but he sent Parliament on vacation without even bothering to pass a crime bill. Canadians deserve better.
Yeah, we do. You're going with crime, are you? All right. Crime it is. And I guess it's valid, sure. It's only a symptom of one of the major problems, but I guess it's a valid thing to go after, considering what happened in Lindsay, Ontario the other night. Remember that? What happened? Guy's sleeping in his bed in his apartment, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Intruder comes in. Guy gets up, kicks the crap out of him. He gets charged with assault. Police chief next day stands up and says, yeah, it's supposed to be proportional force. So you're supposed to do this equation in your head. And you're supposed to keep all the necessary weapons by your bedside, I suppose, before you go to bed. Well, I've got an axe. I got a Louisville slugger. I got a golf club. I've got a knife. So if he's got a knife, then I can pick up my knife. If he's got a bat, I can pick up my bat, and so on and so on. And you're supposed to be thinking about all of this stuff after you've woken up in the middle of the night and this guy's terrorizing your wife and kids. Because welcome to freaking Canada. Danielle Smith was asked about this today at her monthly town hall, and here's what she said.
I wanted to get your reaction to a incident, I believe, in Lindsay, Ontario, where a man is now facing criminal charges for defending himself from a home intruder. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Well, if you don't want to get shot or beaten up, don't break into people's houses. It's pretty straightforward. We had a similar incident in Alberta where somebody defended themselves, and they determined that there was not a reasonable likelihood of conviction, because we do expect that people are going to use a reasonable use of force to defend themselves and their families, and I support that.
No, she said reasonable use of force at the end of that, before saying if you don't want to get shot, stay out of people's houses. So where does she stand? Danielle Smith is an interesting study, isn't she? Danielle's like, one day, fantastic, and the next day, what the hell is she talking about? She takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back constantly. It's like she's trying to straddle a fence between federalism and Alberta's sovereignty. And she's going to have to make her mind up pretty damn soon, because people are getting restless. And the Alberta independence movement is picking up steam. They've got a lot of money behind this movement, and they're starting to put out some pretty good commercials too. Here's another one. Just dropped yesterday.
Today, Canada's 2035 gas vehicle ban officially begins.
Good thing we separated from that mess.
Should have moved to Alberta.
So no more gas trucks out east starting today.
Let them figure out how to haul grain with a Tesla.
I heard Ottawa's gas ban starts today.
Not our problem anymore.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good marketing, to be honest with you, considering what's going on in the rest of this country with the elbows up crowd. Mark Carney still carrying a 57% approval rating, or is it higher? I forget, 67? It's ridiculous. But here's something that you might find amusing, according to Angus Reid, which is probably one of the most trustworthy pollsters out there. Pierre Poilievre led the Conservatives to their strongest electoral showing in more than 4 decades in April, but did in terms of votes. But did so while being viewed negatively by most Canadians, a fact perhaps acknowledged by the party when it dropped him from campaign ads aired during the final week of the election. While he's viewed by Canadians as a strong critic of the current government, 73% say this, half believe him to be insincere, 52%, and say they would be ashamed to call him prime minister, 50%, 50. Half. Both of those latter measures have increased compared to data taken by ARI in December 2023, 45 and 40%, respectively. Doubts remain among Canadians that Poilievre shares their views. 35% understands the issues that are important to them. 37% genuinely cares about women. 35%, the latter being a consistent bugaboo for the Conservative leader as he struggled to generate positivity among women throughout his time as leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Holy crap. But is he really the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, or is there somebody else in charge? Could it be a shadowy group of men in suits behind the scenes? Probably. But who's at the head of that cabal in Canada? I think it's probably this guy.
Putin is a real-life Bond villain. Like, he really is. Except I never saw any sense of humor, although one of my colleagues saw, he did say one time he heard Putin laughing at a very macabre joke. He and I, had a notoriously bad relationship by the end, quite deliberate on my part, actually. But he's, in many ways, a very impressive individual. Vladimir Putin is very smart. He is very smart. He is very hardworking. He's extremely disciplined. He would come into any meeting I ever saw just fantastically well briefed. And he is a real, psychological expert. He's a, former intelligence officer. And I watched Vladimir Putin. He was very good at sizing up people's weaknesses and exploiting them and getting them to think he was on their side when he wasn't. I watched this over and over again with this guy. He has a lot of great attributes. And the problem is, though, that, this is a big problem. He's an evil man. He took what is a fledgling democracy and turned it back into a tyranny. He is creating no institutions, no long-term plan for Russia. He will leave the country poor and in chaos when he goes. And I think this is a real tragedy for Russia. And in a sense, it's a tragedy that somebody with his ability just wasn't imbued with any sense of ideals or higher purpose.
This is the Western propaganda campaign against Russia. Russia right now has one of the best economies in the world. The people there are extremely happy. They can afford things like houses, apartments, food, gasoline. The people of Russia are generally happy, but we don't hear that stuff over here because they don't allow us to hear it. As a matter of fact, I believe just by saying that right now, this show might get taken down from YouTube like it did last night. I was taken down from YouTube last night. I don't know why yet, because I removed the video before they could give me a reason for it, but I think it's probably medical misinformation. I said something last night they didn't like, even though it's true. Backed up by research. And I'm not going to repeat it again tonight because they'll just take the show right down again. That is how we're being manipulated here. And I understand that there are a lot of people who are watching this show right now who understand that. But there's many people, for some reason, who are sleepwalking through this. You kind of know, but you don't really know. You're not doing anything to protect yourself going forward. And that worries me. It worries me greatly. It's like you go to bed at night. And look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to sleep at night. But you should be thinking about what's about to come and what you can do to help out. Because we can't have too many passengers. You know how sometimes you hear football coaches and hockey coaches at the end of the game when they're being interviewed by the media, we had too many passengers tonight, and we lost. Well, that's what we might have going on here. And again, I'm not singling any one of you out watching this right now. But I know that some of you guys, you kind of know what's going on. You come and go. But I'm busy. I've got my life to live. And you go back into your life and you forget about everything. How long? What's it going to take? I'm wondering, for you to get that life is not going to be available to you very much longer if this kind of nonsense keeps up. And I know maybe I haven't rang these alarm bells enough in the last little while. And some people have accused me of being soft, gone too corporate, which is funny because I have no corporate attachments whatsoever. I'm not telling it like it is. Well, tonight I'm telling it like it is. Everything around you right now can be taken from you by them unless you do something about it. I'm talking about everything. And you can tell, you know, it's funny. I have gotten into, and this is a sidebar, I've gotten into conversations with the normies in the last few days again. I go in and out of these kinds of conversations. And they laugh sometimes when I tell them the things that I know, the things I've researched. They laugh. And I say, all right, keep laughing. You can laugh all the way to the breadline. All the way to the breadline in a couple of years. When you're sitting on universal basic income and you can't afford your home anymore, or you've done a trade with the government for your debts to be completely wiped and you get to keep your home for now until they decide they want to give it to some migrant who's more valuable to their idea of the economy than you are. After all, you're too old and white. How dare you think that you deserve anything from the government of Canada? Yeah, sure, you've put your entire life into paying taxes in this country, but so what? That means nothing. You're white. All of this stuff is coming to pass. And we're all sitting around waiting for this boiling point. For everybody to rise up at once and go, that's enough. It's not going to happen like that. There's no magic bullet. There's no pill for this. You just got to start becoming louder. You got to start posting more things on social media. You know, every night I ask people to repost this show, whatever platform they're watching on. And you know how many people actually do it? 1 in 10 of you will share this show. 1 in 10. That's it. So I thought, well, maybe it's too long. Maybe they think people will think I'm crazy by sharing this guy's show. And maybe they will, but so what? Who cares? What is the biggest thing standing in your way from talking to people about all of this? I mean, obviously, you know what's going on. You're here. So what's the obstacle? What's the number one obstacle getting in your way? Is it fear? Are you afraid of what people might think of you? Are you afraid of losing your job? Are you afraid of what your family's going to say? What is it? Because you're going to have to lose that. You're going to have to lose that ASAP. We're moving into critical times here. There's no more sitting around being a passenger. Can't do it. Why is the cabal or the cabals so free with their information? Why do they tell us? Why do they tell us what they're planning on doing? Because they're counting on you to be afraid. They're counting upon your apathy, your unwillingness to fight back. Here's the inversion matrix guy with the explanation.
You ever wonder why the most powerful organizations on earth announce their plans? Why they'll say things like you'll own nothing and be happy, or talk openly about population control? You'd think if this was some dark agenda, they would keep it secret. But they don't. They print it. They put it on websites. They put it in glossy reports. And you should stop and think about why. It's not because they are honest. It's because they've mastered something far more effective than force. Consent through apathy. See, if you keep something secret and people discover it, they revolt. But if you declare it openly and people shrug, you've turned domination into agreement by default. And then, when it's implemented, they can point back and say, we told you, it was public. You didn't stop us. It's psychological warfare, because the human brain normalizes repetition. The first time you hear carbon allowance, you laugh. The 10th time you think, maybe, and the 100th time you defend it. That's not democracy. That's conditioning. And this is the next step. They dress the cage in beautiful words. Equity, safety, sustainability. They make control sound virtuous. And you buy it because it feels moral. Meanwhile, the walls close in. And maybe, and this is a frightening thought, maybe it's also a test. A stress test to see if we've grown so passive, so distracted, that we'll trade autonomy for convenience without even a whisper of resistance. And I'll tell you something. So far, the evidence suggests we will, because we confuse warning with transparency and we mistake silence for safety. They don't need jackboots. They don't need gulags. They just need your compliance. And compliance is built one shrug at a time. So when you hear something insane, don't laugh and scroll. That's not a joke. That's the blueprint. And you'd better decide, because your silence, that's the signature on the contract you never read. So, still think they're warning you?
He's right. They're laughing at us right now. They're laughing because of all the bickering that's going on with us, because of all the fear, people who don't want to share, people who don't want to talk about it or have the hard conversations. Last week on the show, on the extension, shadowdavis.com, I ran a series, or part of a series that I paid for last year, about how to speak to people who are conditioned, who are brainwashed. You don't run at them. Remember that movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and what's her name? Julia Roberts? Where he seemed crazy. He was a conspiracy theorist. That's how they think of us all. And that was intentional. That was intentional. They want people who speak outside of the norm to appear crazy. So we have to appear even more sane and more tame than we normally would. That's how we talk to them. And we tell them these things because these topics come up. Inflation comes up. Well, you can tell them why. I can't even believe this, but a pack of gum was $7 at the store the other day. $7. I said, what the hell's going on? I don't know. It's just, and then the guy behind the counter, obviously. I don't know. It's why it's $7. And I said, well, I guess it's just Agenda 2030 at work then, isn't it? Now, believe it or not, because I was standing by myself, like without anybody that I knew. There were people around me. I looked around after I'd said that. There was a couple of people. I saw the glint of recognition in their eyes. I thought, these people know what I'm talking about. One guy even walked over and gave me one of these. Not a punch in the face, like a fist bump. And I thought, interesting. More people know about this than we think. And we've got to get those people on our side. Because if we don't, this is only going to get worse. And you see people like Raelyn Fox. Now, you guys know Raelyn. She's got the series, Those Books Aren't in My Kid's School. And we're about to watch episode 11 of that. She's being sued. She put up a Give, Send, Go on her Facebook the other day because she's being sued by a principal of a high school in Winnipeg for defamation, I think it is. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. And one of these nights, we will have Raelyn on live on the show. And I told her that very thing today. But she puts it all out there when she does these things. If we all did, this would be over, wouldn't it? By now. We wouldn't have to do shows like this. I could go back to doing a variety show, maybe. Here is Raelyn. Now, I want you guys, before I put this up, I want you to understand that the content she shares in this video is extremely graphic. Extremely graphic. This is also for the algorithms who are monitoring the YouTube platform right now. This is extremely graphic. Make sure there's no kids around. And I want you to understand that this stuff is in public schools in Manitoba, probably in your province as well, and in public libraries. Here's Raelyn.
Books aren't in my kids' school. Part 11. Here we are again. This time, we're going to take a look at what's been placed on the shelves in the Winnipeg School Division. I want to start by sharing an opinion piece that was published in the Winnipeg Free Press on September 30th of 2023. The Chief Superintendent of the Winnipeg School Division wrote, "The books in our libraries are not sexualized or pornographic. Some do represent different family configurations, representing the diversity of families within our city and province. If families have questions about books, they can always call their classroom teacher or principal." Well, that's a strong assurance. But let's take a look ourselves, shall we? The books I'm about to highlight are only a small sample of the sexually explicit books available in the schools within your division. These can all be confirmed on your publicly accessible online library catalog. Before I read from these books, I want to issue a strong warning. The content is extremely graphic and disturbing. I assure you that I am not sharing this to disturb anyone. I'm sharing this so that parents know what's in their child's school library, because just over 2 years ago, I didn't. 2 of the books I'll be reading from also contain explicit images, and I will regrettably be sharing those uncensored as well. Please ensure there are no children watching or within earshot. Here we go. Book 1, Genderqueer. Quote, "I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You are going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside me." Book 2, Icebreaker. Quote, "His dick is already hard again, protruding proudly from his pelvis with cum glistening on the end. I take turns circling my fingers."
All right, now some of you are taking offense to this. I know. You might even turn your head or shut it off. Don't. This stuff is in your kids' schools. And the school's representatives are saying it's not. Let's watch.
Against my swollen clit and pumping them in and out of me, while Nate looks like he's combusting. I think it's the moaning of his name that's doing it, and how my back arches and I grind into my hand. Ask nicely, I tease, and I'll let you fuck me. Book 3, Push. Quote, "I think my daddy. He stink. The white shit drip off his dick. Lick it, lick it. I hate that. But then I feel the hot sauce, hot cha-cha feeling when he be fucking me. I get so confused. I hate him. But my pussy be popping." Quote, "I look like little baby almost. She is talking sweet to me like sometimes daddy talks. I am choking between her legs. She say suck it, lick me precious. Her hand is like a mountain pushing my head down. I squeeze my eyes shut, but choking don't stop. It get worse." Book 4, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Quote, "Do you even know how to eat pussy? Not really. Papa Gaines never sat you down, said, 'Son, one day you're going to have to eat the pussy.' No."
All right, what I'm seeing in comments, I'm watching you guys. And what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of shock out there. You never seen this before. This is the 11th part of the series that Raelyn's been working on for 2 years. Now, I'm going to sit here and say to you, this is the worst one that I've heard so far. But some of the other stuff is nearly as bad. And there's children as young as 5, 6 years old exposed to this stuff. If you're offended about it, great. That's good. You pay school taxes, don't you? Comes right off your property tax every year, right? Or every month or whatever. Then you have a say in this, don't you? Whether your kids are grown or not. Maybe you've got grandkids in public schools. Maybe if you have grandkids, it's time to sit down with your kids and explain this to them. Just look up Raelyn Fox on Facebook or on Rumble or on Instagram. She's on all of those platforms. Her name is spelled Raelyn and then Fox. Fox. And I know this is difficult to hear, but we're going to keep going right till the end.
But he did teach me how to eat a butthole. God bless that man. I would teach you some pussy eating technique, but it's a little complicated. Son, I don't have time for that. I got like 20 pussies over here that I need to eat. I'm on pussy deadline. You've got 20 vaginas, all lined up in a row. Book 5, A Game of Thrones. Quote, he circled her nipples with his thumb, pinched them between thumb and forefinger, then began to pull at her, very lightly at first, then more insistently, until her nipples stiffened and began to ache. She stopped then and drew down onto his lap. Danny was flushed and breathless, her heart fluttering in her chest. She took his hand and moved it down to the wetness between her thighs. Yes, she whispered as she put his fingers inside her. The images I just shared are from the graphic novel version of this book, which is listed as available at these 2 schools. What I just read should erase all doubt about whether or not these books contain sexually explicit content. I need your help to continue this mission, to protect our kids and to get these books out of our schools. Every dollar goes directly to legal fees and advocacy. If you can help financially, I am grateful. But likes, shares, and prayers are just as valuable to me. The link is in the description. If you are concerned by the contents of these books and agree that they have no place in a public school library intended for minors, I urge you to contact the Winnipeg School Division Board of Trustees. They are there to represent the interests of parents. To see if these books are in your child's school, most divisions use the Follett system. Others use their own catalogs, usually posted on the division's website. I have included the links in the description. If you want a list of other books like these to look for in your school's catalog, a great resource is ratedbooks.org. This needs to get out to all parents and all community members. Please help me do that by liking and sharing this video. Our children are the future, and they are worth protecting. So stand up, parents. It's time to take back our schools.
People like her, I admire so much. She's standing up. You know, it's been a while since she and I have had an actual conversation. We talk occasionally on Messenger and text. But I think it's time, because she's been doing this for a while now, I think it's time maybe she starts educating people on how to do what she's doing in their own jurisdictions. Because this isn't just a Manitoba problem. That's what she focuses on. She is a Manitoba mother of 4. Great husband, great family, Raelyn has. And she's not just doing it because she's appalled or offended, because she genuinely believes that children should not be subjected to that kind of material. And the representatives of pretty much every school board in this province have denied that material is in their schools. And yet she's somehow been able to find it. Huh. Interesting, isn't it? So she's got a Give, Send, Go. Here it is. I put the link in. You know what? I didn't put it in Rumble, so let me go put it in Rumble. I don't know how much she needs. I haven't looked at the whole thing yet. But again, she is being sued. She's being sued. I'm going to put it in Rumble right now. And if she doesn't have the proper representation or can't afford the proper representation, guess what? They're going to win. And they're going to silence her. So now it's in the comments in Rumble. They're going to stop her from doing this. People like that, I will support the hell out of. What else are they doing? They're trying to normalize that anybody who is conservative in this country is an extremist. Even so-called conservatives are doing it. So there's a group and a website, they're called the National Citizens Coalition. And they released this today, the National Citizens Coalition, led by President Peter Coleman, and I'm going to try and get him on the show as soon as I can, strongly condemns Doug Ford's baseless characterization of Project Ontario and its supporters as a radical right-wing group. You didn't see that? Oh, here it is.
Jessica from the Trillium. Project Ontario, the group of advocates who are trying to steer the PC government back towards a more conservative direction, is holding a policy convention next month. They tell us you've regularly accused municipalities of slowing down new housing construction, but failed to use the power you have to actually lower development charges, a driver of housing costs. So one organizer says he thinks you're afraid to take on the fight with municipalities to lower development charges. Is that true?
Who's this group?
Project Ontario. They'd like you to be more conservative.
Some right-wing radical group that wants to go after me? Probably. But anyways, I don't even know who these guys are, to be honest with you.
You see? These mainstream conservatives are trying to make actual conservatism a hate group. And what is actual conservatism? People who want to conserve our way of life at this stage of the game. People with actual common sense, people who can tell right from wrong. That's what we are. You know, the 2,000 or 2,500 people who attended the Sean Foyt event last night, an hour south of Winnipeg, or the 1,000 or 1,500 people who were attending the event tonight in Saskatoon. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to be playing in Alberta. I think it's in Edmonton, and it's possible that they're going to be playing in the legislature, or not in the legislature, but at the legislature in Edmonton, because they've been in touch with Danielle Smith's office. So that would be another good thing. In BC, the city of Abbotsford said, no, we can't allow a permit. Now, the JCCF has been saying, well, none of these cities who have canceled or not allowed permits for Sean Foyt so far have never really explained the danger they describe in their reasoning. What danger? Danger to who? Danger from who? The city of Abbotsford has said, no, you're not getting the permit, but at least they've explained what this danger might be. Our friend Bella Marcella Desjardins sent me this today. Good afternoon, because she sent the mayor of Abbotsford a letter requesting what the hell, and the mayor actually sent a letter back. Well, a form letter, but still something. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts and concerns with us. Pursuant to the City of Abbotsford's outdoor special event, filming and activities bylaw, the city will not be issuing a special event permit to burn 24/7 Canada Worship Ministries Society for an event at Mill Lake Park on August 24th. The concert was proposed as an open-air, free of charge, and unticketed event. Given the recent publicity surrounding the proposed event, the city believes that this event could potentially attract significant numbers of protesters and counter-protesters, in addition to attendees. These factors, among others, make the community safety considerations of the proposed event extremely difficult to mitigate, and the city found that no permit conditions could adequately address the potential risks to the public. Burn 24/7 Canada Worship Ministries Society was informed of the city's decision on Tuesday, July 29th, even though conservative MPs and MLAs in British Columbia have been lobbying the mayor of that city to, change his mind. So anyway, getting back to this story here about the National Citizens Coalition. This slanderous label is an attempt to deflect legitimate criticism from concerned conservatives, including the NCC and its director, Alexander Brown, who are advocating for principled, fiscally responsible governance. Actually, this is quite a good story, and we will try to get these folks on the air at some point, because, you push us too far, and eventually what happens is we start to wake up, first of all, and then we start to push back. But they have done such a job on conservatism in Canada for the past, 10 years or so. It's going to be a long road back, and that's why we need everybody with a voice to start using it. And that means everybody, because you've all got one. A voice, I mean. This story from Juno News. And of course, all of the conservative parties across the country have been infiltrated by Marxists. Look at Tim Houston in Nova Scotia. Got a video about him coming up. Del Bigtree of the High Wire has been focusing on that Walking in the Woods ban in Nova Scotia. We're going to get to that. But look at this. Top BC conservative staffer has hidden record of radical NDP trans UNDRIP trolling. The director of communications for the BC Conservative Caucus has an extensive record of promoting radical gender and decolonization causes and campaigning for NDP figures. Did they not vet this guy? The director celebrating controversial legislation like UNDRIP. Newly surfaced screenshots reveal Juno News has obtained a collection of screenshots from Ryan Painter's personal accounts, many of which are no longer publicly accessible and may have been deleted. Painter's newly blue-washed social media raises questions about the Conservative Caucus's vetting process. Yeah, right? And whether leadership knowingly installed a socialist within their ranks or just weren't aware of his past behavior. Painter, who currently manages communications for the BC Conservative Caucus, you can bet that he's throwing monkey wrenches in whenever he can. Previously described himself as an NDP lifer and posted comments directed at BC Conservative leader John Rustad, while also calling Conservative MP Aaron Gunn a clueless knob. Oh, no. Okay, so there's effectively no Conservative Party in British Columbia. If this is the case, and sadly it looks to be, Manitoba's Conservative Party is toast. There's no legitimate Conservative Party in Ontario. Quebec, I have no idea. Nova Scotia doesn't have a Conservative Party. Neither does New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Prince Edward Island. The only two provinces with actual Conservative parties who aren't called Conservative parties are Saskatchewan and Alberta. Well, I guess Alberta, the United Conservative Party, UCP, and Saskatchewan's Conservative Party is called the Saskatchewan Party. This is unbelievable to me. And in the meantime, they continue to normalize poor governance all across the country. Look what's going on in Quebec. The Quebec Liquor Board is now preparing to destroy $300,000 worth of American alcohol. $300,000 worth. Your tax dollars at work. The Quebec Liquor Board may be forced to destroy $300,000 worth of American alcohol the province is banned from stores. The provincial government, March 4th, ordered the state-owned corporation to empty shelves of U.S. alcohol in response to tariffs by Donald Trump. So now it's going to get to its expiry date, and they're just going to have to dump it. But you can bet what's going to happen is that all of the employees of these stores, rather than dumping it, well, they're going to take it home with them. Still a waste of taxpayer money, but at least somebody's getting some benefit out of it, I suppose. And it's okay with us because bad behavior in government has been normalized. And we never say anything about it. And the media doesn't either. And when we do say something, we're labeled as radical extremists. You see the game they've played? More Americans applying for refugee status in Canada, data shows. Okay, so it's from left-wing corporate CTV. More Americans applied for refugee status in Canada in the first half of the year than in all of last year, and more than in any full year since 2019, according to data published by Canada's Immigration and Refugee Board just today. Their share of total refugee claims, 245 of about 55,000, is small, and Canada's acceptance of U.S. refugees. What? Really? Yeah. Now, our acceptance of U.S. refugee claims has historically been low. Asylum seekers from other countries crossing the land border from the U.S. are sent back under a bilateral agreement called the Safe Third Party Agreement. Last year, 204 people filed refugee claims in Canada with the United States as their country of alleged persecution. Claims from the U.S. also rose during the first Trump administration. The data doesn't say why the claims were made. 8 lawyers told Reuters they're hearing from more trans Americans who want to leave. Of course, Canada's the perfect place for them. Reuters spoke with a trans woman from Arizona who came to Canada in April to file a claim, and to a woman who came to file a claim on behalf of her young trans daughter. This is the world that we live in. Oh, and by the way, Carney and Trump spoke for the first time today since blowing past the trade deal deadline. Yeah. How else have they brainwashed us? Oh, yeah, climate change. I'm going to ask you a question. Write it down in the comments. How many of your closest friends and family believe that there is a climate emergency? They actually are worried about it. It keeps them awake at night. They do everything they can to help the emergency by buying electric cars or whatever else you can do. I don't know what else. It's not voluntary, right? Carbon taxes, extra fees on plane tickets, carbon fees, paying for bags at grocery stores. Oh, I'm happy to see this, because that's one argument you don't have to have. Hey, Raelyn's here. How you doing, Raelyn? You're coming on the show live, by the way, one of these nights. You know that. You know that, right? Okay, so this is a very fascinating piece. We're going to hear from Del Bigtree. He's in conversation with another guy, and they're talking about the reason that there is a walking in the woods ban in Nova Scotia, how that may expand to the rest of Canada and quite possibly to the rest of the world. And then we're going to hear from a guy at the end of this video. His name is Stephen Kuhn, senior advisor. Hang on just a minute. He's a decorated, let me just throw this up on the screen. It'll be easier. It'll be easier for all of us. There, oops, that's wrong. Here we go. This. Stephen Eugene Kuhn is a decorated U.S. military combat veteran who turns failing business into success across Europe and the United States. He's been handpicked to consult some of the most influential people in the world about how to expand their brand, build value and loyalty, and develop strategies for increasing beneficial relationships. And he's also on our side. Okay, having said that, here you go.
Extreme fire risk has pushed Nova Scotia leaders to take big steps.
A leisurely walk in the woods is no longer allowed in Nova Scotia, and it may not be for the rest of the summer.
We're telling Nova Scotians, stay out of the woods. Hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted.
According to the province, the penalty for violators will be the same as it is for the burn ban put in last week.
I have a ticket here for, let me see if you can see that, $28,870.50.
As a society, we must do everything possible to protect each other, to protect our communities, to protect property, and of course to protect lives.
Does environmentalism get to the point where they're separating human beings so far from nature as a part of their conversation that we will be banned from going to national parks? I have been very, very concerned that this is the future, that we are seeing our last days where you're allowed to go camping, hiking, or fishing in a national park. They're going to say that is precious zone, precious zone. Nature can't be hurt by human beings. In this case, case they're using fire, but then they backtrack. This one gets me because I'm a nature lover. It really does. And I care about nature. I care about the environment because I got to be in nature. What do they think? Anyone's going to care about the environment if they never get to see it? This is insanity at a all new level.
Again, there's this aggressive net zero push. The hammer always comes down on the people. And we've traced that back to Club of Rome. Alexander King wrote a book called The First Global Revolution. And in that book, he's talking about they were looking for something to unite people around. And they chose global warming, and they chose the people as the enemy. They were the problem, ultimately.
I added a video on global warming. Most of you agreed with the premise that, it's a scam. But some of you push back. Some of you are still holding on to that old narrative, and I get it. So today, I'm going to break it down Barney Rubble style. And if you don't know who Barney Rubble is, well, he's one of the Flintstones, the Stone Age family cartoon. So let's go Stone Age simple, shall we? Here's the truth. First, CO2 is not the enemy. It's the lifeblood of this planet. Plants need CO2 to grow. Trees need CO2 to breathe. Your food exists only because of CO2. Without it, life dies. Second of all, the earth runs on cycles. Long before cars, planes, or factories, the earth heated up and it cooled down on its own. When dinosaurs roamed the earth, it was much hotter, greener, more lush than today. And yes, it was much, much hotter, like I said. Then came the ice ages. Glaciers formed, glaciers melted, seas rose. And there were no humans to blame. It's nature, it's the cycle. Third, the scare stories never come true. For 50 years, they've said we've only got 12 years to live. And guess what? We're still hearing. The only thing that changed is the slogan. Global cooling, acid rain, ozone hole, global warming, climate change. Every decade, a new slogan. How long are you going to keep buying it? Fourth, the green energy scam. Wind turbines? Well, they lose money. They always have. All propped up with government subsidies. In Scotland, some are even hooked up to diesel generators. Electric car chargers? Same thing. Most of them have a diesel generator in the back charging your green car. Carbon credits? Well, that's just paperwork. Germany buys credits from Congo as if you can fly clean African air into Europe. It's not science. It's a cash grab. Real simple. Fifth, carbon taxes. You fly on a plane? Tax. And you drive too far? Tax. You heat your home? Tax. They scare you with doom, then tax you for breathing. And finally, the biggest proof of all. If the world were really ending, if the seas were truly rising, if coastlines were about to sink, then answer this. Why are we still buying? Why are we still building? Why are banks, builders, and billionaires doubling down on the coastlines? They don't act like the world's ending. Why? Because they know it isn't. That's the scam. They terrify you with fear, then get rich off your compliance. The earth warms and the earth cools. It always has and it always will. The only thing that's man-made here is a profit motive.
Yeah. All right, tonight on The Extension on shadowdavis.com, I urge you to become a member. shadowdavis.com, SHADOEDAVIS.com. You get all the extra content at night. The Shadow Store is opening soon, which will be available to all access members first, everybody else next, and all access members are also going to get some price breaks as well on the embroidered toques and hats and t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies that I have personally designed. It's true, in the store. The content tonight on The Extension, satanic music, and how the music industry has been captured by the agenda. Yeah. I'm going to leave. Remember I told you guys last night that Health Canada approved the brand new Pfizer COVID vaccines for this fall. And I'm sure some people who are working at certain places will be required to take them. Other people may have a choice in the matter. Not sure about kids going to public schools. But I thought I would leave you with this little piece that you may or may not have seen in the past couple of years. I love you all, and I appreciate you all. And I will catch you again on Monday night at 8 o'clock Central. Good night. Bye for now. All access. I will see you in 3 minutes time.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer. Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer. On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.